in our culture, and particularly in the wellness industry, there is a massive emphasis on the self. And we hear an awful lot of terms like self love and self discovery and self development and self care. And indeed, an awful lot of the work that I do with clients is very much centered around spiritual concepts such as self awareness and self acceptance. And indeed, they're an essential part of our development, of our journey of self discovery. However, that being said, they shouldn't come at a cost to our connection with others. And indeed, one of the fundaments of living a more spiritually led life is in our connection, is in the way that we serve others, is in the way that we contribute to our community and to the world that we live in. And I think when we're very focused on, kind of the way in which the world impacts on us, and we're very attuned to our emotional experience and our thoughts, and we can become a little bit self-centered. And it's about creating a good balance. I mean, clearly it is essential to be able to understand your internal experience, to be able to tap into your thoughts, to be conscious, to be very aware, to be very alive, and mindful of what it is that's going on internally. However, sometimes when we place that much focus on doing that, we tend to nearly absolve ourselves of having to deal with external shit that we don't want to. And this is where it's so important to understand the difference between what is a need and what is a coping mechanism. We all have these needs that are an integral part of who we are. And in order for our world to be congruent, in order for us to experience a state of equanimity, we need to ensure that these needs are met. However, sometimes we mistake a need for one of our coping mechanisms, and we create things like boundaries, or we cut somebody out of our life, or we cut an element of our life out of our life, thinking that it's for the greater good. Whereas in fact, what it actually was an opportunity for us to grow. It's not that we had to get rid of the situation or the person. It was that we had to evolve as the person that we were to be able to adjust. It was actually kind of one of our defenses that was holding us back. And it's about getting this balance right all the time, and understanding that the internal journey to self-discovery is only the beginning. It's what paves the way for the external journey of connection and contribution and philanthropy, and being able to contribute for the greater good, and being able to recognize that self-awareness and focus on the self isn't enough. You also have to catch yourself on your own bullshit. You have to understand that a lot of the time what we see as kind of pushing down a boundary, or kind of self-care, is a little bit selfish and a little bit self-centered and a little bit egocentric. And it's about being a little bit more humble, creating the self-awareness so we can look at the areas where we need to evolve, or where we need to take ourselves out of the comfort zone, or where we can have a more humanitarian attitude or mindset towards things. So it's about all the time keeping your eyes open, being very mindful as to the stories that you tell yourself, even if you think you're on a spiritual journey, because God knows I know all about it. I can be very good at I'm meditating and I know what I'm thinking and I know what I'm feeling, but that's no good if you can't connect with other people, or if you feel like as if you're still being impacted on by other people's behavior. Everything is kind of about you, as opposed to recognizing that other people are in their place of pain, and sometimes it's about them. So I suppose just with your spiritual journey, always ensure that you try to see things as objectively as possible, because even when we think that we're being objective, oftentimes we're blinkered, we're being subjective. We have all of these kind of stories and constructs going on that really aren't beneficial to us. And being able to challenge those, being able to, I suppose, wade past all of the stuff which is so subconsciously built into our psyche that at times, as I said, it's so hard for us to recognize, and being able to understand how it impacts on our ability to connect with others and to show up to our lives in the way that we're meant to. And as we do this, we will find ourselves living more purposefully. And I think an awful lot of people tend to assume that they need to find their purpose in life, whereas you can live a purposeful life without actually knowing what your purpose is. It's all about, as I said, being aware, being connected with others, being connected with yourself, finding things that you are passionate about and doing them as frequently as possible. They don't have to be your job. It's about asking yourself, how often do I experience joy? How often do I experience elation? How often do I feel this deep connection with other people? And manufacturing ways in your days that you can cultivate these things as frequently as possible so that you're living a life of vitality. If you are interested in any of the concepts that I talk about, or indeed if you want help with your mental health, get in touch with me on my website. It's fundamentals.ie.